Welcome to episode 2 of Cab Conversations. This week with us we have Indiana farmer Brian Scott, Illinois farmer Thomas Titus, and Iowa farmer, Aaron, I'm going to butcher your last name. Can you help me?
Brenneman.
Guys, this week representing the I-States, and we're going to talk a little bit about what you guys do to tell the story of agriculture. So as we get started, let's introduce ourselves and tell us a little bit about your operation and a little bit about your social media presence. Brian, let's start with you here in Indiana.
I farm in northwest Indiana, corn, soybeans, popcorn, and wheat. I farm with my dad and my grandpa every day, and I'm online on all the different social media channels as The Farmer's Life.
We're a large family pig farm. We also grow corn and soybeans. I'm married into the farm. I'm not from the farm, and so I kind of learned all of this over the past 10, 11, almost 11 years now. So it's been awesome. And I love sharing it, like Brian, on all the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, and anywhere I can. I love having conversations about it.
It is a multi-generational farm where right now we're working on cultivating and bringing back the 6th generation to join our family's deep heritage here in Logan County. Like Aaron, actually I farm with my in-laws. Though I grew up farming with my parents in Douglas County, Illinois, today I farm with my in-laws. And we also have, in addition to our pig farm, we farm about 1,700 acres of corn, soybeans, hay. We also have 45 cows, 20 goats, a few chickens, a couple dogs, but most importantly on our farm we raise kids. In reference to social media, extremely active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we utilize those to tell our farm stories, utilizing various different types of things, whether it's Petunia the pig or just showing pictures of what we do around the farm.
And what sparked your interest to share all of this?
Like I said before, I did not grow up on a farm. I grew up in a suburb of Chicago. So when I first came to the farm 11 years ago, I was blown away by what people do as farmers every day to bring food to our table. I always thought food came from the grocery store, and I felt almost a little silly about not knowing about it. So that was just really my motivation to share it anywhere I could. You know, person sitting next to me on a plane, hairdresser, and then yeah, obviously as social media came along, that became a really important part about what we do.
My story is I kind of got started with the blog because I think some of the industry magazines we're starting to talk about some of their social media stuff. So I kind of tried it, had no idea what I was doing. Like 5 years ago, I had no interest in having a Facebook account. And of course, now I've got an account everywhere. And I just kind of started the blog and then kind of got, I got to meet some people across the country and across the world. That's one thing that kind of keeps me going, all the things I get to do and the people I've met that I would definitely not have done otherwise. And it's really neat sharing our story. I go places now where just to go hang out with friends and stuff, and people are asking me farm questions all the time. It's really interesting.
Thomas, I would say you're probably one of the biggest faces that we see socially when it comes to talking about agriculture. You're one of USFRA's faces of farming. Talk to me about why you got started and why you wanted to participate in that program.
As agriculturists, a lot of times, just as our parents did and our grandparents, they get caught up a lot of times talking to other people involved in the agricultural industry. And by being able to utilize those social media platforms, we can expand our community into a much larger audience than what we could with just going to our local coffee shops, talking to schools. And U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance has been key in helping spread that information and helping continuing to tell that story and getting us put into some positions, some of those more consumer-facing positions, to talk about what's going on the farm.
Has the advent of social media changed the perception of agriculture, or how do you think it has changed the perception of agriculture, and why do you need to use it to continue to be successful in farming? Brian, let's start with you as we look at kind of the grain and production and GMO side of things.
If you're not speaking up and talking about your farm, somebody else is going to tell that story for you, and somebody's going to listen. So we may as well be out there, out front, telling people what it is we actually do and why I use GMOs, and I'm thinking of a blog post here I need to write why we also do not use them sometimes, because we're not strictly GMO on our farm. It's a tool in the toolbox, and sometimes you use a different tool.
What about on the livestock side of things, Aaron and Thomas, especially as we see pressure and the ag industry sees pressure from folks like HSUS and PETA and those types of organizations?
There's somebody out there telling our farm stories that many times they don't have a real relationship or have never even been on a farm themselves. So it's just being merely 2% of the population. I mean, it's becoming part of our daily duty to not just go out and take care of our animals or grow our crops. We've got to tell our story and share what we're doing with our consumers, so they understand how their food's being grown and raised, because it's only going to continue to become ever more important for them to understand and have that relationship with the food that's being put on their table.
One of the things that I look at too is, we have something new and fun and exciting and interesting to tell every single day, because no day on the farm is the same. And I always think that's very interesting. People who have not been on a farm that might be anti or against, they've never experienced the farm, and they really don't have that many interesting stories to tell, and I think that's always been a really neat thing that we have available.
Farming in your area, as you look around, how is planting going?
Personally speaking, from our own personal position, we're about 95% done. We have 3 good days, we'll be done in the field.
We're about 60% done. We had some rain last week, and it really didn't dry up the last couple days, and I think a lot of acres got planted yesterday and the day before.
You can see I am not in my cab for the cab conversation. This is our second day sitting still. We got 650 acres of corn in, so about 200 to go, another 300 of popcorn, and then 900 of beans. So we're about 25% done overall.
I mean, you guys all have different forms of technology that you use on the farm. Who's the biggest push behind implementing new forms of technology, Brian and your farm and planting, and maybe for you guys, Aaron and Thomas as well?
When I came back to the farm in 2009, we didn't have any GPS stuff. They had been talking about it, but maybe I kind of pushed everybody over the edge on that, and we're kind of up to all the latest and greatest stuff now. Like, we've had some issues getting an ammonia applicator to work. I decided we needed to have anhydrous ammonia that would run suction control just like the planter does, which is a bit of a challenge. And we finally got it working correctly. And I remember my John Deere dealer telling me, well, when you're on the cutting edge, you tend to bleed a little bit.
It's my brother-in-law and I are pretty much the major pushers for any type of technology implementation that we do have on our farm. My father-in-law, he still resists technology and change. We have GPS in all of our tractors, and he still resists to use it. He's pretty old school, so my brother-in-law are really embracing some of the different things we can do, to help improve efficiencies. And while we're in the cab of the tractor, it makes utilizing social media quite a bit easier when we can just tap on auto steer, whether we're working ground or planting, and we can post a picture to Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and it makes that time a little bit more convenient. I know there's a few folks that utilize some UAVs to take some really cool images while they're planting as well. We're not quite that savvy yet. Maybe next year.
Have you guys getting any backlash from people for using technology? I've ran into that a few times.
I mean, I don't think specifically like, oh, you're using technology, but I mean, in a roundabout way, the things people are asking is for us to not use technology, go back to the way it used to be, and we can't do that. We've done so much better with what we have and with technologies and innovations all around, crops, animal care, everything.
In all reality, I mean, agriculture is one of the only industries that's heavily chastised for using technology to do their jobs better with less resources. And that's something we really like to talk about, is the good things that we're doing on our farms. And we are in those type of communities or consumer-facing events, is utilizing that as a leveraging point to how we're doing things better, how we're being more sustainable, and being conscious of our natural resources and the environment around us.
My great-grandfather could never dream of knowing his fields as well as I'm going to know mine when I'm done.
Thank you for a great week, and we will check back in with you in about a month.